What's up, YouTube fam? Caleb from thebookflipper.com. Got some interesting news. We're going to kind of digest what Amazon threw at us this week. There's always a curveball. The good news is we get some free Amazon FBA removals, and I'm going to show you how to walk through and analyze your inventory. The bad news is this is a limited time. Every time Amazon kind of changes it, I think their lawyers tell them you'd better give your sellers something nice, and so they give us free removals, and we'll take it. It's nice. There's some new IPI limitations. We're going to do a separate live stream in our Facebook group about IPI. So stay tuned. We'll probably post a comment down below. But I'm trying to make this a little more generic. We're going to give you a little history on e-commerce and what Amazon's up to in this new COVID world, as well as how you can best take advantage quickly, because this is going to be limited. Amazon didn't give an end date like they normally do, but it's probably not going to last long. So without further ado, let's jump in. So today, maybe by the time you're watching this, will be July. Today's the 14th. Tomorrow might be the 15th. Couple notices. One, you're going to want to read all of this. Read the fine print. Don't just take an influencer or guru or whatever term you want to throw out at us. I know Reezy did a great video yesterday already, and several of the other leaders in the community have been helping out. But do your own research. Do your own due diligence. Make sure you're interpreting it properly. We'll do our best to guide you. But a couple changes for FBA. A little backstory. Amazon decided to not allow us to send in FBA inventory during COVID. They said books weren't essential. I beg to differ, but who am I? So we, in our business, we switched to merchant fulfilled for a bit, and then FBA kind of opened back up. What they're doing now is Amazon saying, look, we've got all the challenges with COVID-19. We've been investing heavily, blah, blah, blah. Now the bad news, we've impacted supply chain. We're hiring a lot of people. Third-party sellers account for more than 50% of units sold. That's pretty awesome. Amazon is choosing to be more of a platform and less of the product provider. That's going to be on us. Even though it's July, they're looking forward to Q4, Christmas time. So what they're doing is basically they're going to run out of space. E-commerce is taking off, and I'll show you some numbers in a minute, but we're still early, but this year really accelerated the rise of e-commerce. So if you're not in e-commerce yet, there is going to be a lot of room for it. If you're in it, be prepared for a ramp up. We've seen a nice bump in sales, although there are other challenges, which we'll get to. So Amazon has an IPI, Inventory Performance Index. Of course, they like their acronyms. I think when they first rolled it out, it was 350, and you could have unlimited storage if you dipped below that. And again, we'll do a whole separate video on IPI, so hold on to that. But right now it's 400. If it's a minimum of 400, you have unlimited storage. It's a little bit harder for booksellers to get really strong IPI scores. And again, we'll cover that in a separate video. They're now raising that a full 100 points. So if you're under 500 by a certain date, and they get into all that, you're going to be limited. Now, they didn't say what the limits are going to be. It sounds like it may not be as stringent. I think they're trying to give themselves the out of, hey, we might be full of inventory, and in order to compensate, we're going to kind of cater to the customers that help move lots of inventory. Amazon is in the inventory selling game. They're not in the storage game. They do charge us fees, but it's not, what the money they make by selling product. That's not what they're there to do. They're not just giant warehouses. They're designed to push product out the door. So we'll see if Amazon backpedals on this. I don't know exactly, but if you're below 500, which a lot of booksellers are, there's going to be some things you got to do. So first off, let's take advantage of the free removals. And before we do that, I do want to talk a bit about the rise of e-commerce. This is just a stat I found on census.gov. It should be fairly accurate. Estimated quarterly U.S. retail e-commerce sales as a percentage of total retail sales. So e-commerce, if you're already selling on Amazon, you might think that it's extremely popular, and it is. Although, even in Q1 of 2020, so right before COVID it set off, e-commerce still only accounted for 10 to 12% of U.S. sales. Now, that number is spiking. I think I've seen some estimates in the 15, maybe even pushing 20%. But still, at 10%, $1 out of $10 is spent online. At 20%, $1 out of $5 is spent online. So it's still not crazy. And here's a crazy piece. Walmart, 2019, net sales billions of US dollars, $500 billion, so $500 billion in global sales. Amazon 2019 net global sales of roughly half that. Now they're growing at a very, very fast clip. 20% growth is unbelievable. Of that revenue, though, they're going to have AWS and web services and a bunch of other stuff, including third-party fees, which come out of our pockets as sellers. Net sales of that 280 billion, 160. So a very small percentage compared to Walmart stemmed from merchandise Amazon itself sold to customers. We know that maybe half the units are third party from, again, Amazon just told us that. So maybe 320 to 350 billion is total product sales and the rest of its other categories. So Amazon's still smaller than Walmart, and the e-commerce space is still relatively small, for sure under 20%. Amazon does own a big chunk of it, but e-commerce has been slowly growing. I would love to come back and see this chart, and keep your eyes at census.gov. You can check that out and see what happens over the next 2-3 quarters, because I think we're going to see that just skyrocket. It's been slowly accelerating, slowly ramping up, and I think we're going to see that. Obviously we are, because everything's changed. So that's just a little bit of backstory, and we won't get into too much more. Now, one of our sellers, so again, you should read through all of this. The key part I want to hone in right now, and I apologize, it's going to be a little bit of a lengthy video, but it is important to understand the backstory, what's going on, and what you can do about it. To help you avoid storage fees are a big portion of what hits your IPI score. They're going to waive our fees for removal orders submitted for inventory in our fulfillment centers beginning today, July 14. To create it, do this. I'm going to actually walk you through how to do this. This probably will be a lengthy video. Apologize, not apologize, but I'm going to walk you through some of the pieces. And Amazon, again, is saying, look, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but our commitment to help you, cool, we're blah, blah, blah. Yeah, nice things. Basically, take advantage of the free removal. Now, there's two different orders. One is disposal, one is removal. They both cost the same now. It's kind of based on the weight and the dimensions of the product. So the kind of the large standard, small standard, and then weight and dimensions do play a role. So the costs are the same. It doesn't say free disposals. I'm going to guess it means that, but to be safe, remove them. You can ship it anywhere in the country. Find a buddy, ship them random things for early Christmas in July, whatever you want to do. We have a couple options. If you want to try and monetize, watch the video all the way to the end. We'll show you some options to monetize that. And there's some people that are looking to do some charitable things with those books, CDs, DVDs, etc. So by all means, check it out. We'll walk you through kind of how to do that as well. As always, make sure you're clicking the help page. You can read through these. Again, it doesn't say much. It says all FBA sellers are eligible. Applies to anything in the U.S. fulfillment centers. Sorry, Canada, UK, everybody else. This is just a U.S. thing. It is what it is. We experienced delays. How fast are you doing it? 4 weeks. This promotion will run for a limited duration. We will notify you by email when the promotion ends. So no head start, no advance notice. We recommend you to take action as soon as possible. They could kill it in a couple days. They probably will. One note, there are limitations on future shipment. So if you do take advantage of free removals, you can't send in any more of those same ASINs for 90 days. So just be careful of that. There you go. Or if the number of units in your inventory for the removed ASIN falls below the number of units sold. So again, they don't want to be in the storage game. They want to be in the selling game. So that's what's going on. Let's show you how to do this. So I asked in our Facebook group, I don't like sharing my own account just as a safety precaution. Somebody was very kind and said I could use their account. So I'm going to make sure we hide it. I've got it grayed out as well, but I don't want to give up the account name, and I'm not going to tell you the person's name either. So everything's hidden at the top. I'm going to show you how to pull a report of everything in your FBA inventory, and then kind of how to go through it, kind of what to think about. I didn't really build a PowerPoint. This is just raw, off the cuff. And we're going to walk you through how to pull the inventory and kind of my thought process on what you should probably be removing. We want to hone in on two things. We want to try and remove items that are kind of long tail, that have been there for a while and aren't very valuable. It's cool to keep books ranked 2, 3, 4 million if they're selling for 40, 50, 60 bucks, and if they actually have an e-score or they're selling. It's not cool to keep books ranked 3, 4, 5 million that are selling for $8. That's just not a good equation. That's not a good way to play the game. And again, we want to make sure that our inventory is moving as quickly as possible. So again, not my account. Someone was gracious enough to share, and I appreciate you. You know who you are. What we're going to do is we're going to go to reports. I'm going to kind of walk you through a couple things. Fulfillment. And we're going to pull the inventory health report. If you guys have followed my channel for a bit, I do. We talk a lot about the inventory health report. Over on inventory, click on show more, and we're going to go to inventory health. This is going to give you all of the FBA inventory in stock, and this is extremely helpful. I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm actually going to offer a service. I don't know what I'm going to charge, 20, 25 bucks or something, but if spreadsheets intimidate you, you want to take advantage of this free removal, I'll help you out. And I'll provide more information, or if I put a little product page or something, I'll drop that in. So if you want to do it yourself, keep watching. If you don't, there'll be a note down below. Check that link as well, and I will help you walk through it and make sure that you are in a good spot to take advantage of this. We're going to go to download. I'm going to try and just cover it. I won't go super quick, but I don't want to make this be an hour video. Let's keep it to 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes. I'm going to request an inventory. You can do CSV or text. It doesn't really matter. CSV is better. I did this earlier today. I'm going to go ahead and do it again. You can request it. It'll take a minute or 2 or 3, depending on Amazon servers. Download it once you get it, and it'll open when complete, and it's going to be a CSV. So this is just a spreadsheet. Everything's fine. If you want to save it now, you can. What this is this is a listing of, and it's got a snapshot date, and the snapshot date's always several days old. So this is the 14th today. The snapshot, Amazon servers are behind, is from the 9th. So we're 5 days old. So there's books that have already sold or have gone pending. So you'll see some options that say no listing. That may mean stranded. We'll cover that in a second. It may just mean the book's sold already, especially with good sales ranks. So without getting too much into an Excel course, I want to teach you how to identify which books we're going to remove. And what we're going to do first is, if you've never seen this report, it's pretty good. It's got all of your SKUs, the FN SKUs, so Amazon's identifier, the ASIN, the product name, condition, used versus new versus no listing, sales rank, category, total quantity. So this seller has a little over 6,000 units, looks like mostly books. Sellable versus unsellable, so there might be some stranded that this individual should look at. And then inventory age, you can see 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, 6 on, and then more than a year, 800 units. So we're going to really hone in on these to try and avoid some long-term storage fees. But there's probably some books in here too that may not be as good. And if you want to clean up your inventory, again, you're going to save between, I'd have to look it up. When in doubt, Google it, but probably 30 to 50 cents a unit. So the fees used to be 50 cents to remove, 15 cents to dispose. It's now weight-based, dimension-based, and I believe it starts at like 30 to 35 cents and goes up significantly. So the removals on light books are probably a little cheaper than the 50 cents they were before. Heavier textbook type stuff is probably going to be more expensive than 50 cents. So before we do anything else, again, it's got your price. If you have it on sale, the lowest Amazon fulfilled new, lowest Amazon fulfilled used, lowest merchant fulfilled new, lowest merchant fulfilled used. So these are really good. I'll show you how to use that in a second. And then quantity to be charged, long-term storage fees at 12 months. Again, anything over a year, it gets charged every month. I believe on the 15th, and it's kind of a prorated portion. Instead of twice a year, they charge you every month. How many units is that? So in the long-term storage program, and then the projected long-term storage fees. So every month, 183 bucks, boom, out the door. So the storage fees are not that expensive during the year, but once you hit 12 months in inventory, it does start to add up. So if this seller doesn't do anything, they're paying 183 bucks for 800 units. So 180 roughly divided by 800 units, 22 cents per book per month. Starts to add up, especially if you're not selling a lot of that. So this is going to be important. There's the cubic volume down to like 100,000 decimal places. Projected long-term storage fees. They used to have 6-month fees. Those aren't there anymore. ASIN limit's going to be interesting. Looks like there's no limits yet. So Amazon can limit the ASINs. Now, before we go any further, you can delete some of this stuff. It's not really useful. We can kind of leave that alone if you want, or you can just leave it there. It's a good practice to leave it. We're going to add another column. We're just going to call it removals. and we're going to put just a number 1 on anything we want to remove. So I'm going to do that before I add a filter. I might color code this just so we can see it a little easier. Whoop, 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 whoop. Hold that thought. There we go. And without further ado, let's jump in. So again, if you're new to Excel, come on up here, go to Data, click on Filter. This is going to give us some really cool potential. And you can click on any of the columns, see the different values. You can choose which ones you want to look at or not look at. What we're going to do first, we're only going to look at books. You probably want to do this individually for each media category because a book ranked 1 million is very different than a CD or a DVD ranked 1 million. So we're going to only look at books. So we filtered everything off except for books. Sales rank, because they don't have commas and make it look nice, we're going to come up here and click on the comma and then get rid of the extra decimals. We can easily see now if something's 1 million or 800,000 or 9,000 or 900. So it gives us a better indication of what's going on. And then in general, we want to look at used. We're gonna clear these no listings out. Might come back to those later. Looks like this seller sells some new, some used. I don't really recommend selling new, so be cautious. We're gonna look at used to start with. And again, you want to stay used books, stay in one world, and then flip out of it. So we're going to start with that. Now, where we want to hone in first, again, we want to look at 2 broad categories. One is old inventory that's getting expensive for fees. 2 is, I don't care how old it is. Maybe we made a bad decision. Maybe we listed it by mistake. We want to go through and clean up low value inventory, almost regardless of rank. Now, a book like Hillbilly Elegy that used to be ranked number 1 on Amazon now is ranked under 1,000 still. It's going to sell a lot. And so even if it's cheap right now, it may still bounce up, may bounce down. But a couple things here, even without looking and filtering by age, let's just filter on rank ones. Let's just sort high to low. So there's some books here that are 20 million in rank, right? Now, I'm not opposed to selling 3, 4, 5 million ranked books. Nothing wrong with that at all. However, books that are this high, they've not sold in a very, very, very long time. And unless I'm the only seller on the listing for some reason, or unless the pricing is just crazy high and I think someone still might find it relevant and try and buy it, I'm probably going to, I'm going to highlight a lot of these. So anything ranked over, let's say 3 million, I'm not just going to kill it all. I'll show you how to analyze it. But there's a couple hundred, 230 in this particular seller's inventory. So what we're going to do first, let's look at the old stuff. If you have very limited time, start with this. Another thing you can do in Excel, we're going to freeze the top column, freeze the top row. That way we can just see what's going on as we scroll down. So we're going to look at inventory aged 365 plus, and we're going to get rid of anything 0. So we only want inventory that's old, 800 units. So 809 units, this is what we're going to hone in on. And what we want to do is, again, I'm sorting rank high to low. That's fine. And I'm going to come over here, and you can also then look at the lowest Amazon fulfilled used, which is probably going to be, especially on the really long tail stuff, this particular seller, so your inventory. Or you can also look at the lowest merchant fulfilled used. Now, for the purposes of this, especially as rank gets really high, it doesn't really matter if there's a prime bump, right? So 789 merchant fulfilled versus 995 prime on a 18 million ranked book probably doesn't matter. The other thing we can do here, let's just hide some of this so it's not even in the way. Right click and just say hide and try and make this simpler to see. There's our storage fees. I don't really care about most of this. Let's just hide all that. Doesn't matter if they're removing. Cool. So that'll keep us a little bit simpler, right? So what we want to do is we're essentially looking at rank and price. And I'm not going to look at my price. I'm going to look at really lowest merchant fulfilled, because when I'm making decisions to remove, especially on old inventory, this stuff hasn't sold, and it's time now to just cut it unless it's really, really expensive. So again, I'll hit commas, turn it into accounting or value so I can just see it easier instead of losing a decimal or seeing zeros like that. I want to see them like this. So what you can do is just basic rule of thumb for me is if the book is ranked 4 or 5 million, I need it to be selling merchant fulfilled for 50 before I'll bother. So anything north of this row right here needs to be selling for 50 or higher. This one meets the criteria, so I might keep it. This one definitely meets the criteria. I might drop my price. Pretty much everything else, a $9 book merchant fulfilled, even though I can be on the listing for 44, doesn't really matter, right? I'm not going to get that much of a prime bump on a 5 million rank book. It might happen 1 out of 1,000, 1 out of 10,000, 1 out of 100 maybe, but it's not a general rule that I'm going to pursue. So the basic rule is 5 million, I need $50 merchant fulfilled. 4 million, I need roughly $40 merchant fulfilled. And so what we can do here is we're going to come over here to the removals, and I think we could fit all this in one screen. There we go with the rank. So I'm essentially just going to remove everything. You can go one by one, or you can copy it here and then carry it down till the 5 million, like that. Shift click, Command or Control V to paste. These are the ones we're going to remove. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and delete that one. It's $100. You might want to go look at it. This is a $50 book, so maybe I can undercut it, although the seller's already undercutting it and pricing at 25, and it still hasn't sold, so I'm probably still going to remove it. And I might keep this one at 50. That's 5 million. So right there, we got a few. So what you can do is just keep doing the same thing. It's a little bit tedious. Again, I can help with this for a one-time fee. I'll just write some scripts that make it a little simpler. I want $40 in the next range down to 4 million. I don't see any of the merchant fulfilled prices that equal that. This one here doesn't have any merchant fulfilled. Prime's the only listing. It hasn't sold, but I may keep that. Again, up to you. And we're going to then say, okay, all of these down to 4 million. Let's just carry it down to like 3. So I think 3 million is a good benchmark. Under that, you might want to start using some criteria, but even really, honestly, probably down to like 1.5 to 2 million. I don't really see much of a prime bump. So maybe 2.1, I think, is where Scout IQ loses the bump. Let's just carry down and say we're going to remove it all. That'll be simpler. What we're going to do now is kind of go through, and I'll try and do this quickly. Again, I'd probably go back before I actually did any removals. I'm looking for $40 books here. I don't see any. As we get down to 3 million, I'm looking for $30 books. This one's close, maybe worth keeping just for kicks and giggles. Maybe worth undercutting, dropping to $19.99, $14.99, just trying to get the sale. Or you could say heck with it, take advantage of the free removals. 3 million range, I need about 30. This one meets the criteria, so we'll leave it. That one's fine. That one's fine. Everything else doesn't meet it. As we get into the 2 million range, we need $20. This one meets it for sure, so we'll leave that. $20 at 3 million is kind of borderline. I'd probably still remove it, or I might keep it, see what happens. Any of these single digit merchant fulfilled, the price has dropped out, the rank is high, it's not selling very much, it's time to say goodbye. $20 book at 3 million doesn't quite meet it, but again, if you're trying to, hey, I really need the sales, you can kind of leave some of it. Again, about 20, 20, 20. I'm not seeing a lot of that. So, and if you want to get fancy, again, I can help you with this, but you can actually set this and say filter. I only want to show stuff that is less than or equal to, and you can set parameters, or you can build some formulas where the removals are. But this is kind of a poor man's version if Excel is not your cup of tea. Again, we're going to delete that as well. We're going to allow it to stay. So anything with a 1 is going to get the axe. $17 at 2.2 million, it's close. Again, if you're trying to keep more inventory, I might keep it. $20 at 2 million, sure, why not? $26, sure. 8, 9, 10, nope. $30, yep. Okay, so just like that, we've already identified quickly in a couple of minutes 230 items to get removed. 234 items times an average of, 45 cents a unit. We're going to save $100, and more importantly, we're going to boost our IPI, we're going to boost our sell-through rates, etc. So that's where I would start. Is these are the easy-ish decisions. Once we get lower, once we're like under 2 million or wherever you think the prime bump disappears, it's a little hairier. So on the very low end of everything, so I'll let you kind of make some decisions in there. On the low end of things where stuff's selling quite a bit, you will see some books that have 0 rank. That's more likely Amazon, their servers got overloaded and it jacked up. You can actually look up these ASINs on Amazon and see if the rank is actually 0. It may be, you might have listed a book with no rank, in which case definitely give it the axe, but make sure you check because Amazon does have some server issues from time to time. The other part you can look at here is, on a book that's ranked 7,000, it's selling a lot. This person's price is right at 7. Looks like that's kind of a floor price for a lot of the stuff. Merchant fulfilled, it's 5.25. There's not a lot of meat on the bone. If you're really conservative and want to clear some stuff out, you either want to drop your price a little more, but you might be risky not making any money, or take advantage of the free removal and just yank it. So a rough rule, again, most of these are low single digits. Anything that's like north of 8 is probably okay. It's hard to know like a firm and fast rule. But what you can do is, let's show you the filters here really quick. And if you're not that comfortable with Excel, don't get too panicky. It's okay. I only want to look at ones that are lower, so less than, and I'm going to say, look, if the price is under, let's say 650, it's not like an exact science. I don't want to, I only want to see it. So if we did this right, it's only going to show us prices under 650. Anything over is going to be retained. Cool part is now this makes our job really easy. And so you could say, look, anything that's under 650 or under 6 or under 550, whatever that floor price is going to be, I want to yank it. So a $5 book, merchant fulfilled, 33 FBA with a rank of 1,000,000. It depends on eScore. If eScore is 2 or 3, that's probably not viable. If eScore is 20 or 30 and it's a textbook and it sells a couple times a year, that might actually be an okay price. It might be a good eFlip target. But for the most part, and you can kind of look at both of these, you could say, look, if the lowest Amazon fulfilled used price, again, we can apply a filter, is less than or equal to, let's just say, $12, let's yank this thing. Or you might say, look, I can make money at 10, so if it's less than $10, we're going to leave it. So here we have prime prices under 10, regardless of where you are, the lowest prime on the listing, and merchant fulfilled is under whatever your target is. We want to yank these. So this is just books that are basically lost value. So again, we can grab the one, we can, don't replace it. We can go ahead and copy, scroll all the way up until we start seeing some other ones where we last left off. And as a rough rule, you can come in here and just say, look, these are the ones we're going to remove because they're low value regardless of rank. Now, you may choose to come back in here and you can scroll down again, hit the comma, hit the accounting. And if you guys are still watching this, you're troopers, because this is really boring Excel stuff, but it's important. Hopefully you see the value in it. This person has 29 units, 28 that are really old. They're selling for 14. Lowest merchant fulfilled is 33. They've already undercut it, but they're still not the lowest prime. They may want to lower it there, but on a 1.7 million ranked book, that's a lot of quantity. It might be time to dump that as well. So again, we're just going to say 1, and we'll remove everything here. So again, this is only looking at inventory that's old, right? So everything over 365 on this filter, now that we filtered it out, we have 548 to remove. We're removing all but 30 at this point. Now again, you can tweak the rules. You can set your filters here to be less than $6 or 550. You can kind of tweak that and be a little more or less conservative. You can change the prime filters as well. But as a rough rule, if it doesn't have a ton of value and you're really trying to free up space, you might want to do that. Now, you might say, look, if I can get $10 prime, that's great. I actually am fine getting, and actually if we change the filters and want to change what we're doing here, make some deletions. So let's go up to about that 2 million range, shift down. Let's delete all the ones so we don't actually hurt anything. And let's say, look, Caleb, that's too aggressive. If it's under $8, let's go ahead and get rid of it. Cool. Now we went from 530 and change to 408. So we're going to be a little less aggressive. Scroll down here, and we'll go ahead and carry this bad boy all the way down. There's not that many, so we can just scroll down, and presto. Now, you can then still spot check and say, look, if my sales price or my price is pretty high, these are all like $7. Again, that's probably the floor for this particular seller. If we're right at our floor, it's probably time to dump it anyway. And there's one that's 10, so I go, hey, maybe I want to keep it. You can, again, just delete the ones if you'd like to keep it. So that's what we're doing. Again, it's tedious, but you want to start with that. If you ever need to reset and you forget what you filtered, just come back up in here, click data, click filter, and everything goes back the way it was. Go ahead and click filter again. They're all reset. And you might want to do the same thing. So for sure, be aggressive, be very aggressive on stuff over 365. If it doesn't meet that kind of $3 million, $30 rule, $4 million, $40 rule, down to about $1.5 million, 2, and then kind of if the prices dropped out, probably very aggressive. You probably want to remove 80 to 90% of the books in this range unless you play the long tail game profitably and properly. The other part you want to do is kind of, we already did regardless of of age, we kind of looked at rank, right? So we can sort by that again. And some of this isn't really old, but it's probably time to come over and say goodbye to that as well. So again, we're going to come over here and say, all right, really anything over like 6 million, I don't even care how old it is. I probably shouldn't have put it into inventory. And so 6 million, if the lowest merchant fulfilled isn't like 60, it's time to say goodbye. So again, copy, scroll all the way up, and then Command V or Control V. And again, if it's really high value, $50 book, sales rank is 9 million, doesn't really meet the criteria, and this seller's at 25 bucks anyway, it's probably time to axe it. Let's see if anything actually meets the criteria. And because we didn't format it when everything was showing, it didn't keep. So let's do that. Okay, I don't see anything really valuable. There's one, and we're already keeping it. That's fine. There's something valuable. We're keeping it. Here, $8 book, 5 million, probably not. So again, we're kind of regardless of age now. I'm kind of taking a scalpel and taking stuff that's really, really ranked highly and yanking it. So we kind of do that. And again, you can kind of go through it manually and do some of this work as well. And then lastly, kind of regardless, I'm going to do one last filter, and I'm going to say, look, if this is less than, if so merchant fulfilled is under, let's just say 550, and the lowest prime is under, let's just say 7, right? So there's not much profit. Let's just look at those. And again, we're sorted by rank. And there are, I've got 1,100 books that meet that criteria. Now, I happen to know this is somewhat of a bulk seller. And so they're getting books for free or very cheap. And so if they can make a buck, they're probably going to list it, and that's okay. However, if you're trying to be super aggressive, I would maybe try and remove some of these books as well. So these are very, very cheap merchant fulfilled books, very cheap prime books as well. And it may be time to yank some of these. There's a $25 book that's $4, merchant fulfilled, 1.8 million. Probably time to remove some of those. And again, you can kind of work your way down and say, look, it's time to remove a lot of this inventory. So at any rate, I'm not going to bore you to death watching all of this. But where do we go from here? All right, so I've identified what I want to remove. Before you go any further, come back in here, turn the filters off just to reset everything so you're not messing with it. And you can highlight the removals column. We've got 597 units. I bet we could probably be more aggressive and get up to about 1,000. But at 600 units, saving maybe 45 cents a unit, we just saved 270 bucks, which is pretty cool. And more importantly, you're going to help your IPI scores. So what you want to do from here, let's go ahead and add one more filter. And we want to filter, you can either sort like high to low like this, and now we've got all of the removals up here. You can hit Command down arrow and go to where there's no data. And so here's all the books we're removing. All right, now what? How do we remove these in bulk? Because I don't want to go through one by one and find this SKU in my inventory and go from there. So what we're going to do is, when in doubt, Google. We're going to go to Google, and we're going to say bulk removals on Amazon Seller Central. And I know you can't see the screen because I'm hiding the very top of it. There we go, how to remove inventory from a fulfillment center. But I really want bulk removals. So the third option is bulk removal. If you have blah, blah, blah. Cool. Online selling experiment. Made a nice little blog post for us. Hopefully we can find some value here. See if that works. Just search bulk. Okay, that's how to do individual. How do we do bulk? If I could read it. And I never remember where this is. That's kind of all individual. I wonder if there's a bulk one later. There we go. So there is a template. We've used it before. I don't need my free ebook. Thanks anyway. All right, my Google skills are lacking this late at night. Bulk removals on Amazon FBA. Got another blog post. Remove inventory from a fulfillment center. I know there's a blog post. There's a way to do it. Let's see if HomeQuest can help me out. Hey, there's a flat file, but then we have to know where to go. But that's probably a really good one to watch it as well. Here's a step-by-step. That's several years old. Sorry, guys, you have to watch me do this. Okay. That's the same thing. That's nice. And anyway. So this is exactly kind of what we just talked about. That's cool. And there's a place to upload. There we go. Upload removal file. So let's take us back to Seller Central. I could post links here as well. This is exactly what I was looking for all along. So prepare your removal order. We can download the template, which is going to be this bad boy. It's exactly the same. And then we're going to upload. Amazon likes text files. I think they're getting better at stuff. But here is the template. They kind of walk you through what to do. Let's kind of shrink that down. Here's the definitions. Here's what it looks like. And you get to tell them where to ship everything to. The examples are great. And we are going to say return instead of dispose. I think your options are return, disposal, donate, liquidate. Liquidate's not available for everybody, I don't believe. We're going to say return. So in our requests, we can essentially just copy what they have. It's a good starting point. And what we're going to do here is then you're going to change your name to match it. Put your address, your city, your state, your zip. If you guys do all the work, send me your flat file if you're interested. Send me the ones you want to get rid of, just a list of the ASINs. We can actually run those through Sell Back Your Book. And then there's a couple guys that actually buy a lot of long tail inventory. They may toss you $1 or $2 or $3, or on some of it, they might give you 10, 15, 20. They do pay a lot on some material. So if you have some inventory that you weren't able to sell, they still might be interested. Drop me a line, Caleb@thebookflipper.com. Send me a list of the ASINs you're getting rid of. And we can actually, since it's free, you can return these and actually set up like, Sell Back Your Book, and have a number that correlates to you. And when they receive it, you can get paid for it. So you might as well make a little bit of money or donate to a nonprofit. Check our Facebook group. We'll have some options there as well. So anyway, put whatever number you want or some sort of merchant removal order. Let's make sure it doesn't have to be a certain number. Yeah, it's got to be 10 characters or up to 2, 4, 6, 8. That's not 10. So up to 10 characters. Don't go longer than that. And we'll just say remove 1, something like that. Anyway, you want the SKU and you want sellable and unsellable quantity to remove. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the exact same thing. We went down to this row. Before I do anything else, I'm going to bold the one just below it. You can do Command or Control B, or you can just click on that. I don't want to go to here. I'm going to remove everything from here and up. So we're going to grab the SKU, Command Shift up arrow, and then down 1 just to grab all of that. We're going to paste that here. And then we're going to go over here. We need sellable quantity and unsellable. So we're going to shift over, shift up, grab all of that. If you can't figure out the keyboard shortcuts, you can just drag and drop essentially. Go ahead and paste that here. Make sure it matches up. We're getting rid of 601 total units. You can see some have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, whatever. Hopefully that one that had 28 or 29 is showing up in here. Might be 29. If not, we might want to get rid of that. We are not. So we need to make sure that we get rid of that because it had a lot of inventory. It's really interesting. We didn't see that. 28 units. It was below the cutoff for whatever reason. I would probably remove that as well. So you can kind of spot check that. And again, measure twice, cut once. Make sure you go back and look through it. I probably made some mistakes doing this live. And again, if you do want help, drop me a line. There'll be a link down below. But what you're going to do here is you're going to save this as a .txt file. So you're going to say, get rid of that. You're going to say, go ahead and save as. Apologize, you can't see that, but file, save as. We're going to save it to the desktop, and we're just going to say remove. And I'll put the date 07-14-20. We're going to save this as .txt. Doesn't really matter which one. Actually, probably just want a very generic one, tab delimited like that. Go ahead and save. Can't be saved because it contains multiple sheets. No big deal. It's still going to do just this tab, which is all we want. It renamed it. It's on the desktop. We're good to go. Go back to Seller Central, and we're going to pick that file from the desktop. Or you can drag it into there. I guess I should click on Choose File. There it is. Boom, off we go. And you can go ahead and upload that. I'm not going to do this because I didn't get permission from the rights owner, the account owner, to do it. So I'm not going to do it. But that's what you do. Click upload now, and these items will be magically removed and shipped wherever you want them. So that's it. If you're still watching, thank you. Hopefully that was helpful. If you guys want to see more Excel videos, but in shorter bite-sized formats, let me know. I do love Excel. But that's it. Hopefully that helps. Jump on this quickly. It's going to go away very soon. I would guess by next Monday. I would guess by the weekend. Don't delay. Don't sit on it. Especially if you have tens of thousands of items that are really old or collecting dust. It's time to yank those. Save yourself a couple $100, couple $1,000 in some cases, and by all means, that'll free up and help out with IPI. All right, so times are changing. We always adjust with them. We'll be helping you out with how to better understand IPI, the performance index, and keep running lean and mean businesses, because that's what Amazon wants, and that's going to be best suited for them and for us as we continue. That's all. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Talk soon.